Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Tony Talks and Get Up and Grow, where I have conversations with inspirational leaders, influencers, and change makers, people that aren't just doing well in life, but that are doing good in the world by giving back and contributing at a high level. And today I have the distinct pleasure of bringing back again, she was, I don't know, maybe 60 episodes ago, a dear friend of mine who is one of the most inspirational people that I know. She is a Navy veteran. She is, I want to say she's a survivor, even though I'm sure she doesn't like to get labeled a survivor, but she is a survivor. She is an author. She is a speaker. She's an inspirational speaker. She's an inspiration to many. She's also an athlete, among so many other things. She's got a beautiful heart, and she's a beautiful person inside and out. And with that said, we were working on some audio glitches, so I'm giving her another second backstage to get her ears in, so to speak. So yes, she's got an inspirational story. She's out there, she's sharing it. She's written a book, and the book is Falling Up: From Victim to Kick-Ass Victory, and she'll probably correct that title when she comes on. It is my dear friend Dana Liesegang. She is, like I said, an inspiration to so many. I can't wait to share her with you when I see that she's ready backstage. I'll bring her on. She's going to share with us just some inspiration. She's going to share a little bit of her story, I guess, but she'll also talk about faith, talk about forgiveness, talk about acceptance and strength, resilience and grit, and the power of bouncing back despite nobody else believing in you, and really believing in yourself and believing in your outcome, and really not believing everything that you hear, right? Not believing everything that somebody else is telling you, not letting somebody else's fears and their lack of faith, their lack of belief affect you. And wait, she's waving at me, so let me bring her on. It's the one and only Dana Liesegang. How are you, beautiful? Oh, you are very quiet. I can't hear you at all. Oh, wait, that's because I probably still got you muted. Let's see. Maybe if I can mute you, I can hear you. Unfortunately, that cracking is still with us, which is what we were trying to work out. Can you guys, by the way, Barb, I see that you're on here. Hello, good afternoon. Can you just let me know if you're hearing a cracking sound as we speak, or if it's just my speaker? It might very well just be my speaker. So just let us know. So with that said, we are going to carry on. How are you, Dana?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So good to see you.
It's a beautiful day in Colorado. It's like 90 degrees, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Nice. It wasn't a bad day in New Jersey. Yeah, Jason says it's still choppy. I don't know what that could be. Yeah, that's actually choppy, and it's getting
volume, so I can hear you.
And it's getting worse.
I can't.
So turn down your volume. Turn down your volume if you can.
The volume's
And you
down. If I turn it down, I can't hear you.
There is that.
Technical difficulty.
Yes, technical difficulties. So if you guys are willing to hang on with me, I'm going to see if I can mute you. Let me see if I can take care of myself here. Hold on a second. Yeah. Oh, apparently I'm cracked, not you. So I'm gonna kick myself out.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing great today. It is a beautiful, warm summer day, and I hope that everybody's starting to get rolling back into life. I know that Grand Junction opened up for like 50 people inside of restaurants, 50% capacity. I'm in Grand Junction, Colorado, which is the western slope, nowhere near Denver, just in case you were wondering. And hopefully Tony will come back on. So Tony told you a little bit. My book is Falling Up: My Wild Ride, Victim to Kick-Ass Victory. And Tony's back.
Hopefully not cracking up. No, still cracking. I'm just going to mute myself and let you speak, and I'll just unmute when I speak.
You reading yourself? Okay. So what's going on now in the days? Well, a little background on my story. At the age of 19, I was raped and thrown off of a 75-foot cliff and left for dead. I broke C1 through C5 with a traumatic brain injury, and the Navy gave me two options when they came to my room in the hospital, and I just started breathing on my own. First, the doctors told my parents I was going to die and that I wouldn't live through the night, and they had to come say their goodbyes. I lived through the night. I worked hard through that, and I decided I was not going to stay quadriplegic and stay on a respirator. If I had to be in a wheelchair, it was going to be on my terms. And 3 years into that, I became independent, backtracked to the Navy. So they came to my room, and I just started breathing on my own. I was barely talking, one syllable at a time, at a whisper, and in a halo where you have 4 bolts stuck in your head, 2 here, rods that come down into a jacket that keeps you from moving and stabilized. And the advisor said, you have 2 options. You can take your right to remain silent in the court of law, and you will be 100% service connected through the VA, the Veterans Administration. They laid out my benefits. Or you can take this to court. You will lose. It's your word against his. The clear option was to take my right to remain silent. And in hindsight, it was definitely the best option and the best decision of my life. And I had my dad and stepmom in the room at the time. They helped me make that decision. It wasn't that difficult because they were telling my parents that they would end up with all of my medical bills. So it was quite spendy. Anyway, fast forward that 3 years into it, I'm hearing from doctors and nurses, you'll never be able to take care of yourself because the actual damage to my spinal cord was at C4 and C5. That bone on the back of your neck that you feel, that knot, that's C7. You only have seven bones in your neck. However, there are 8 levels of injury. There's a C8 level between T1, thoracic, and cervical 7. So my injury is the normal sensation, normal function stops here, and it stops here. However, over the years, even though that they were telling me I would not be able to be independent in a wheelchair because of the lack of muscle function, I've only been functioning on, I was at the time functioning on biceps, delts, and traps, and that was it. 3 muscle groups. I managed to become independent, which meant to me dressing, pushing myself around, showering, being able to live without a nurse. Took 3 years to do that, and I was like, all right, they were wrong about all these other things. They're wrong about walking. And they were. So now, fast forward all the way up to today, I am riding a recumbent trike and doing a GOSCU training. And thank you to Tony and Brian Bradley. They hooked me up with Peter Agoscu, and he's been giving my trainer and I, via Facebook Lives, exercises to regain some cerebral spinal fluid circulation. So we're crawling upside down, and it's phenomenal. I'm already feeling differences in my ability to ride the recumbent trike. I'm up to 3 miles now. I had sustained probably 5 broken ankles over the last 10 years. So it took out a lot of progress, but now I'm back on it, never quit. And next step is to just completely leave the chair behind, which I will. Just bank on it. It's going to happen. And what I'm doing now is I'm also helping Scarlett Lewis, the Jesse Lewis Choose Love Foundation. And we are having we're calling the Soldier Summit, SOUL Jur Summit. And we're going to start that on June 6th. It's going to be free, but we're asking for donations for going toward the Choose Love Foundation to continue the support of social emotional learning in schools. And my next step with the Choose Love movement is to go into the workplace and begin teaching being social emotional intelligence.
Excellent. How's that sound?
Better.
Still choppy. Let me see if I can just do this then. Put this other guy on.
Now, who's correct? Hey, there's two of you. You're twins. You were twins for a second. Ooh, that was crazy. You're muted. Unmute you. You're muted. Tony. No, can hear you. There you. Okay. We're the canyon. Canyon.
We're gonna have to go ahead and deal with the choppiness. There we go. We'll have to deal with the choppiness. Sorry about that, everyone. Unfortunately, we've already lost everyone that we're watching. My apologies. Technical difficulties today. Don't know what's happening. Anyway, hello, everyone, and thank you for sharing your story. Yes, Scarlett is an amazing human as well. So I'm grateful for you to having introduced her to me. I have someone else to introduce to her, actually. I did send her a message. But yeah, what's that?
We are joining forces because both of us have completely different things to forgive. One is actual murder and one attempted murder, and both of us have forgiven. And it was Dr. Wayne Dyer that brought us together, and by no mistake. And now we are going forward, and I'm going to do a summit with her. It's going to be once a month for the next 3 months, and then she's starting out a program for social emotional intelligence in the workplace, and I'm going to be one of her speakers and for that.
Fantastic. Awesome. Very exciting stuff you got.
On our Soldier Summit, sir.
Sorry?
On our Soldier Summit, SOUL Summit, there's a segment that we are going to be inviting you in.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Well, listen, I'm obviously a raving fan of yours, and I'm a raving fan of her as well. So
I'm a raving fan of yours. So there you go.
There you go. Listen, it's that two-way street. I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about, one of the things that I said that we were going to be talking about, and this crackling is really driving me crazy. Tell us a little bit more about the forgiveness component of it, because I think that the forgiveness is such a huge piece, and your emotional intelligence, so to speak, or that component of it that I think played such a big role is so huge, to be able to forgive at that level of someone who not only attacked you physically and sexual assault, but then threw you off a cliff and left you for dead. So the level of forgiveness that you've had to find and achieve even within yourself to be able to do that is amazing and outstanding. And tell us a little bit about that and how you.
Well, it did take 21 years, and for a long time, I used, the soothingness of alcohol and kept my nerves down and just buried it. I ignored the fact that I even had PTSD because I really didn't know, and I was able to cover it up with alcohol, and I had a dog that kind of stayed with me at all times, so I never really knew that I had so much anger inside until it was pointed out to me by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he's like, well, you need to go see John of God in Brazil. And I went to Abadiânia, Brazil in 2012, I believe. I was 21 years post-injury, whatever that is. And I was able to go there, and I don't know what kind of woo-woo stuff they do there. No one touched me, but I did. I had 2 spiritual surgeries and went down to the sacred waterfall and washed under the waterfall. And I got to a point of really extreme peace in my heart. And I decided at that point that it was just time to let go of the anger and cut the cord of my power draining into the person that put me in the situation. Like, it's not what happens to us, it's what we do with it. And I've done quite a bit with being a quadriplegic, with all the adaptive sports and driving an 18-wheeler, scuba diving, skydiving, you name it, I was doing it. I just didn't have the final component of the forgiving, and that freed my soul. And I full on believe that once I forgave and I took my power back, that something inside my body would changed enough, and that there was so much anger held in my bowels, that that's when, because it was at that point when I forgave that I started having some bowel function. I don't have total control and total function, but some is better than none. And the forgiveness gave me that component, as well as more love for myself and more compassion for others.
Yeah. So how true is that? I mean,
Can't hear you.
wait, I still can't hear me?
Yeah, now.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, but how true is that? I said, sometimes, what we're hanging on to, it's like hanging on to that hot coal, right? It's only doing you damage. It's the person that your anger is towards many times doesn't know, doesn't care, is another part of the world, never see you again, doesn't even think about you. And the only one that you're hurting is yourself, right? So I have a question to the audience and everybody here. And I know that I've hung on to anger way too long, and I've ventured to say that I still hang on to something, right? But a lot of it, I know I've let go, and it's very freeing. But the question for everyone that's listening now or on replay is, how much anger are you still holding on to, and how's that holding you back? Because what you do when you hang on to anger, as you so eloquently put it, you're not in control of your own emotions. You've given control to that person, to that situation, to that thing. So you're powerless to feel that anger. That emotion, it just comes up and you feel it. So only when you let go and release it, can you truly be free. So that's a beautiful message.
Well, anger takes over. It just does. There's nothing, like, at a certain point when, like, you're triggered from PTSD, and so many people have post-traumatic stress that they don't even know. You get triggered and you start ruminating, and you start, like, making stories around stories, and you just start going in circles and making yourself even worse instead of better. Can't hear you.
I said it's classic overthinking. What could I have done? What could I have done? I should have done this, could have done that, whatever it is. So I can't even. But so you finally forgave after 21 years, and then you regained some control. And then where did it go from there?
Well, from there, it turned into the book deal, basically. And Wayne Dyer, I was going on cruises and going to Maui, and he would pull me on stage and have me speak, and he was kind of grooming me for the book when it came out. And he passed away August of 2015, and 2 weeks prior to that, my dog Jack passed away. And just so you know how much I love my dog, I dedicated my book to my dog. And I'm like, he was my life. And there was a point during that year, I mean, I honestly thought God forgot to take me. And I was praying. So just so you know, like, your journey, it continues on. You can get to the top, you can forgive, and then you can fall right back down, and then you got to pick yourself back up. And that falls in line with Tony's Get Up and Grow. So I started going back to school after a while, but what picked me back up immediately was a puppy landed in my lap. I attempted suicide 3 days prior to this puppy landing in my lap. But I went on, just so you know how hard it is to detect someone who is suicidal. And sometimes you just don't know. Those who are going to try and commit suicide are just going to do it without any sign. And I was seemingly happy. I was skiing still. I went to adaptive clinics, but every day I would lay down and pray for God to take me. And I went to a beautiful place in Colorado, Estes Park. I drove home into my garage. I closed the garage door. I had Wayne Dyer's hat on, Jack's ashes in my lap, and I left the car running. And I have a beautiful couple that live 2 doors down, and they're kind of like my parents here. I have enough parents, but I adopted them as my Grand Junction parents. And as I started to pass out, I heard Wayne's voice saying, Bob and Carolyn are going to be the ones that find you. And I knew at that point, I reached up, I turned the car off, and once again, I had to decide to live again. And I was like, okay. And 3 days later, I ended up with Jasper, who has been an incredibly difficult dog to train. I've almost rehomed him a few times. God's like, not going to happen. This is what you need. You wanted to be a dog trainer, didn't you? Here you go. So I was like, okay. And I started going to school, and I finally graduated from college last year because my dad was like, I'd really like to see you graduate before I die. And I was like, okay. And I did that. And during that period of time, I accidentally minored in public speaking. It's undeclared, but I accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally. And one of my assignments was to go watch other speakers and see what they were all about. I put Wayne's hat on. I'm like, buddy, I need your help. And then Tony Robbins starts flashing all over my screen. I'm like, okay, I get it. So I went to Tony Robbins, and the first day I'm like, God, this is really different and not really my style. I'm used to Wayne. He gets up there, he's chill, he talks. We're in there for a few hours. We go have lunch. We're in there for another hour. We go have dinner. And it's just not the same. And it was cold. I was hungry. And I was dancing. And it's stand up, sit down, fight. And you're just like in there for a long time. It's fun. I had a great time. And I was exhausted. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going the next day. And they're like, well, Joseph McClendon III is going to be in here. Come in and see Joseph. And I'm like, all right. So I drug my butt out of bed the next day, and I freaking fell in love with Joseph McClendon III. And I'm shaking my attitude and having a great time. And I'm like, all right, I can do this. I can get through it. And Joseph prepares you, at UPW. Those of you who have been to Unleash the Power Within, you get prepared each day for the Dickens process with Tony Robbins. And that's where I met Tony Rodriguez. Well, I'm a really good manifester. And before I left my house to go to this event, I said out loud, and I wrote it down, I'm going to meet Tony, and I'm going to be on stage with Tony. Little did I know I was going to meet Tony Rodriguez. So when you're manifesting, be a little more specific.
Otherwise, you might end up.
I'm at this point, Tony Rodriguez is my hero, so it just is. So you're part of that story.
Yeah, well, thank you. That is a beautiful story, and it was an amazing encounter. It was certainly something that jolted me and marked my life because again, the story we've shared the story before. Let me see if I meet you, if that changes anything. Oh, look at that. If I mute you, the sound is gone. Interesting. Sorry, no talking, Dana. So I'll bring you back on, or you can unmute yourself. I'll tell you what, I'll unmute you so you can mute yourself.
Okay.
And that way you can control your own mic. That way you can jump in whenever you want. There's a little button on the bottom that says mute all the way on the left.
Uh-oh.
Got it?
No.
Well, I can do it. Just put your hand up.
You muted yourself.
That's funny. So it was a beautiful story the way it happened. And the reason I say that, it actually marked me, and it was very impactful in my life because I almost didn't go to the event because different circumstances. I almost didn't go. I decided to go anyway. when they were going through the Dickens process. I wasn't supposed to be in the room. They hadn't put me in a place in the room. And the reason that they have the trainers in the room is just to make sure if there's somebody in distress and they run out of the room and they're in distress, we're there to kind of bring them back down to neutral at least, or back up to neutral, because it's a very interesting experience, because basically it's about making you face your fears and your limitations and that sort of thing, and really making you feel what that would be if you don't change. So, but with that said, I just happened, they said, okay, so go here. But I went to that one spot. There was already a trainer there. I went to the other spot. There was a trainer there, and I wound up going to another row, and there was no one there. So I stayed there, and I noticed that there was someone in the chair. It had already started when I got there. So I didn't know, I guess I probably figured it was dark. So, but I assumed it was a woman, small frame, and leaning over in her chair. And so I just stood there maybe 7 or 8 feet behind her. And then at one point, when Tony starts to bring everyone back up through the Dickens process, because everybody's feeling not so good, right? And he starts to bringing everybody back up to talk about hope and possibility. If you do go for your dreams, you do change those things that you need to change. And everybody starts to lift back up. At one point, Tony says, okay, stand up. Well, actually, people were already standing, sorry. The lights start to go up, and he starts to lift everyone up. And I just see Dana sit up in her chair and wheel up to the row of chairs in front of her, put her hands on the chairs in front of her, and stands up and pushes the chair back. And I'm like, holy cow. So I said, that's amazing. And I just sat there, and for about 5 minutes later, she started to get unstable, and like she was starting to lose her footing. And I just put my hand on my heart, and I put my hand out, and I'm probably 6 feet behind her. And I just said, God, give her some of my strength and help her stand as long as she could. And what happened next was amazing. She went from like getting unstable to just stiffening up again, and stood up for another 5 or 6 minutes, which was, again, incredible. And then the moment she started to waver again, I went behind her and I said, can I help you? And she just nodded her head yes. So I put my arms underneath her arms, and I held her up. And I held her up for probably an hour, which I don't know how I held her up for an hour, because first of all, I'm not one to stand still in one place for 5 minutes, let alone an hour. And I had had an accident the day before. So I was in no shape, and I was in pain. And I just, through the pain, I said, well, she's obviously been in this chair a long time, so I can just suck it up and hold her as long as I could, until finally I told her, I said, I'm sorry, I can't keep holding you up. Otherwise we're both going to fall. So she nodded her head. I put her down in her chair. And that's when I put my hand on her lap. I said, we'll put you in this chair. And then she told me her story that, 29 years prior, she was in the Navy, another sailor, had raped her, choked her, and thrown her off a cliff and left her to die. And I was, it was like the last thing you expect to hear. And I just put my hand on her heart, and I said, I guess I'm here to tell you that not every man is going to throw you off a cliff. And, she said, oh my God, you just saved me from falling. And she had a moment, I had a moment. And basically that's kind of how this relationship started, this friendship started. Oh, but the other interesting thing that happened, I meant to unmute you. The other interesting thing that happened is, at that point I was in a lot of pain. And as I was walking away, there was a couple that was there attending as well. And they saw me, they could tell that I was uncomfortable. They told me, you okay? I said, yeah. I explained a lot quicker than what I just did. The interaction I had with Dan, they said, here, she looked like, oh my God, here's 2 Tylenol. They gave me 2 Tylenol. I swallowed them. I walked away. But before I was 10 steps away, the pain went away, which I thought was, what's that?
Which is really incredible, because Wayne Dyer had a similar experience to that when he helped a guy that was in braces. Wayne was headed for surgery for his knees, and his knees were really bad. And he helped this guy up these steep steps that was in long leg braces. I don't know. I think he had MS or something. And by the time he got to the top, he was like, I don't think I'm gonna fall. And he prayed for a little assistance, and they were at St. Francis of Assisi doing that walk, I think the pilgrimage. And when he got to the top, the same thing happened to him. So I'm kind of like, I believe in the divine, and I believe God stepped in and like helped
Yeah,
you.
I honestly, I couldn't understand because I was in a significant amount of pain. Like I was going to take the pills and go down somewhere. My back was just in no shape, and the pills couldn't even have hit my stomach practically, and the pain was gone. And I went back to the couple that I was told. I said, "The pain is gone." They're like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, the pain is gone." So it was a spiritual moment for me, honestly. Just the chance or not by chance encounter, and then just the whole experience of the pain and the pain going away. And it was, again, it was a moment that was um,
Amazing.
amazing and unexpected. So
My life has been so enhanced, like to this day. Like every step I seem to be taking outside of Scarlett Lewis, I can trace back to you. It's like, huh? It's like the Kevin Bacon game, only it's a Tony Rodriguez game.
well, listen, I'm happy and I'm so glad that I've been able to introduce you to some people that are making an impact in your life, because you're certainly making an impact in mine and the impact in the life of many. That again, and we're just kind of touching on the story. We're not even going into the whole thing, just because I know we've already had this conversation on here before, so I don't want to overwhelm people with it. But it's amazing. And let's just say after that, I came home. And I decided, Dana called me 2 days later. Well, first of all, send me a text message with telling me that story of the garage and how you turned the car off. And that kind of floored me. And then you called me like the next 2 days later and said, listen, I just took 46 steps. And the impressive thing, you guys heard her story. She was told she'd never walk again. She'd never breathe on her own. She'd never do anything. So she took 46 steps. And she challenged me because she knew that at that point, my shoulder, not only my back, but my shoulder was a bit of a mess. She challenged me, says, listen, I just did take 46 steps. Will you do 46 push-ups? I accepted the challenge. So we went on she did 46 steps for the next week. I did 46 push-ups every day, 20 and then 26, because I really was having a hard time. She built that up to 56, and I did 56 and 66 and 76 and 86 and 96 and 106, and I think it got to 116, and then my shoulder said no more, and I just couldn't do it anymore. But I did more push-ups in that span than I had done in a while since I tore the rotator cuff. So again, you inspired me. So I did 46 for Dana for quite a while, and I know that Dana's continued to take her steps, and she got up to 1,000 steps. And as a matter of fact, there's a couple of videos out there of not only you walking, but you and I walking, taking those steps as well. So again, you're such an inspiration to so many, because, and you're humble about it, because you say, and I've used this line before on other people that have had other, I know disabilities is probably, I guess it's another one of those words that are, not PC anymore, but whatever. Other people that have had disabilities, or different abilities, right? I guess that's what it's called, with different abilities, sharing that story with them. And the reality of it is, it's like I told you, what you're doing is you're living your life. So for you, for me, and for anyone that looks, and I've seen you've stayed at my house, I've spent time with you, so I know what it takes you. I've seen what it takes you to do what so many of us take for granted. So to see you go through that, it's inspiring because of how many times you've got to try and how long it takes you to do certain things, where some of us get frustrated when something doesn't happen right away, but yet you're able to just, you just persist and you just keep going, because that's a muscle that you've trained in such a way. And to you, it's just living. You're just living your life. To everyone else, it's inspirational. But what did I tell you a couple months ago? If you can remember that.
It's, ordinary to you is extraordinary to others. Is that what, like,
Yeah.
for me, everyday living, I'm like, it's normal for me to think, why wouldn't I go skiing? Why wouldn't I raft through the Grand Canyon? Why wouldn't I try and drive a truck just because I'm in a wheelchair? Why wouldn't I go skydiving or scuba diving? That's just, it doesn't compute in my mind that that wouldn't just be normal behavior. And because I guess I don't really even see myself in a wheelchair. I guess I just forget about that part. I forget that I'm a quadriplegic. I mean, not like totally, because when I go to grab something or put this phone in a holder, then I'm like throwing the holder across the room a couple times before I get it in there. But I do get it in there anyway. But that's just like, it's normal. It's my norm, and it would have been who I was. So basically, what and who you are before you get any kind of injury, disability, you're still going to be that core personality inside of you. And you might go, well, most people, you'll go through stages of anger, depression, sadness, and then you'll come back out the other side most often. And you'll still be in your brain that same person that you were as a walking person, and want to do all of those things that you did then. You just have to figure it out and figure out a new way of doing it. And I've done that with cross country skiing the most, and so yeah, my normal isn't exactly normal.
All right. The line that I told you is, just because the extraordinary has become ordinary to you, it doesn't mean it is extraordinary to somebody else, right? So
Yeah.
that's why, because so many times I said, I don't know why people find me inspirational. Well, that's because you're living more life, and you're doing more things than most people that are fully able. They're fully able-bodied, and they're not doing. And you're not letting any of that shit hold you back. And you're one of the most joyful people I know, which is absolutely amazing. You smile more. Listen, good thing you have teeth. It would have been a mess if you didn't. I'm just saying, because you're smiling all the time.
I can't. Well, the craziest thing, I think I can't. No, I don't remember who I was telling, but I'm like, nothing happened to my teeth. Like,
thank God.
Beat up. I got thrown off of a 75-foot cliff, and nothing happened to my teeth.
Well, God knows you had a smile. He didn't want to mess that up. He didn't want to mess up your smile. So yeah. Seriously, you are inspirational to me for that and so many other reasons. And again, if spending time with you, and in fairness, for all of us that are watching, you don't have to spend time with Dana. We all know someone who's, what is it? Differently abled, or who has a disability. Okay.
Little gimped up.
Yeah, there you go with your politically correct comment. That's what happens when you get rehabbed by a bunch of Vietnam vets. Every time she says "gimp," it makes me cringe a little bit. Yeah, Jan says, too funny. Dana is a doc. She is, isn't she? And thank you, Jan. It was great to see you today as well, and I love you too. So the reality of it is, your ability to adapt is amazing. So going back to what I was saying, if you know someone who is disabled, somebody who's differently abled or whatever it is, spend some time with them and learn to appreciate. I've learned to appreciate so much more about my own body, for God's sakes, and the fact that I can just get up in the morning and get up and bounce out of bed, or I can just go take a quick shower, or I can, just throw on my shoes, or I can do whatever. Or for example, part of the unblinded community, there's a lot of people that are blind, not taking for granted the fact that we're sighted, right? That we have our eyesight, that we have the ability to see the beauty around us, that we have our ears and our hearing, that we're able to listen to the beautiful birds, the children's laughter, the voice of the person you love, right? the mouth that we have to eat, to speak, to kiss, to appreciate everything in life, the nose to be able to breathe and smell, and the aromas and everything else, you know, and everything else. You can go all the way to your brain, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver, your fingers, your arms, your elbow, whatever. There's so much to be grateful for. And, you know, and my wife is so right. Just posted, you look radiant, and it's true.
Ew.
I don't know what kind of vitamins you're taking, girl, but I want some of those. I mean, I don't need to look radiant.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Well, just go out in the sun for that.
That's, you know, what it is. That's what this is. That's sunshine.
Nice. All right, sunshine. There you go. But yeah, so just connect with someone. Learn to just learn to appreciate the people in your life. Learn to appreciate yourself, your body. Learn to love a little more. Learn to
live an attitude. That's absolutely what has kept my spirits high. Like I just have every step of the way, from being able to breathe on my own. I was grateful for being able to breathe. When I was independent in this chair, I was grateful for being independent in my chair. It doesn't mean you have to stop there. You can just keep going for the next step. One thing I didn't do, which I highly encourage, is to celebrate. Yeah. I kept going it like a bull in a china shop. The end goal is walking. The end goal is walking. The reality is the end goal is not walking. The end goal is enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Well, our destination is not the goal. Think about it. I just want to get there. The reality is, what is your final destination? I don't want to get to mine anytime soon, because our final destination is all the same. Some of us might be scattered around as ashes. The other of us are just going to be buried, but that's our final destination, right? So it's about enjoying the journey, right? It's about enjoying the journey. It's about enjoying. What's that?
It took me longer to learn that than it did to forgive, oddly enough.
Well, listen, all in due time, because everything serves us. Everything serves us. All of our emotions serve us. Our experience serves us. You know what? You didn't understand that because maybe it just wasn't you ready to understand that. You didn't forgive because maybe you just weren't ready to forgive.
Well, and I fully believe that we're on our own path, and we have to walk that path, and each hurdle comes when it's supposed to. And like you're saying, it's like when you're meant to learn it, you will, or you're going to go to your grave and wonder, what the hell was my life for? I just encourage everybody to be grateful for now, grateful for what they have right now. Like you don't have to have a disability. There's a lot of invisible disabilities that I know more disabled, able-bodied people than I am. I don't consider myself disabled in any way, shape, or form. But I get around some people and I'm like, wow, life is really hard for you. And they're walking around. And I would rather be me. When you start going, I would rather be a quadriplegic than you got to wonder. And I think
the reality of it is, so many of those people,
who they are, what they have, and where they're going.
Yeah. And the reality is, so many of those people, it's a choice. Now, granted, obviously, there's people that have mental conditions and hormonal imbalances, chemical imbalances, and everything else. And of probably 50% of the people that's what they're, that are, Adderall deficient, I guess, or whatever other deficient, Zoloft deficiencies, all those people that are over medicated. I think that we have much more control over our own physical and mental condition than people think. And sometimes it's just easier to medicate and take on a label and say that, I can't because of this, I can't because of that. The reality of it is, there are people that suffer from mental illness, no doubt. But I think that so many of us have options, because we get caught up in the emotion of that thing that we didn't forgive, and it literally drives us crazy. Right?
Well, definitely hormones. I'm going to go with Yeah.
No, it does. But what I'm saying is, can you see how some of those things could, yeah, can you see how some of those things can literally drive you crazy if you don't let go, if you don't forgive, if you don't move on?
Well, the
So
one thing W is how to change my state in a hurry, and that's something I really, really, really appreciate. Is
yeah,
that make your move.
that's it. That's it. Change your focus, right? What you focus on, expand.
It's helped me so much in this past year. It's been amazing. That's like one of my
But-
favorite things.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't say that lightly. I do not say that lightly. I know very well the words that I speak. And I say that because I was that guy. I was that guy. I was that teenager that was suicidal. I was that guy that went through so much shit in my life and thought maybe it's just easier to go the other way. I was that guy. So again, I don't speak on something I don't understand. I'm not going to speak on being a quadriplegic, and hopefully I'll never have to, because I don't know what that is. I've not lived that, but I have lived the depression. I have lived the low self-worth. I have lived the anger, the sadness, the rage. I've lived that, and I know how debilitating it could be. And I know how easy it is to go down the spiral of alcoholism or drugs or whatever. It's easy. It's the easy way out. What isn't easy is to fight to stand up and be who the hell you are and who you're supposed to be and make the impact that you've got to make in the world. That's not easy. But unfortunately, these days, it's just easier to take the easy way out. It's easier to walk down the beaten path, even though there's nothing new to see, and you're not going to find anything new there because everything's already been picked up, and it's all filled with misery and same old stories and same old bullshit. Hey, how you doing, man? How's life? Same shit, different day. I'm sorry. Can I help? Because if you're going to go down that same road every single day, the same thoughts, and play the same bullshit pattern in your head, why mommy didn't love me, daddy didn't love me, my father beat the shit out of me and my siblings just about every single day. My father told us how we weren't ever going to be, we're never amount to shit, and we wouldn't be anyone better than anything better than someone's doormat. So I lived it. So again,
you're inspiring me. You're inspiring thousands of people every day with your Tony Talks. You're inspiring people.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You are an influencer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And again, it's just to try to make a difference. And I know that the same way I went through that, there's people that have been through a lot worse than I have. There's people that have been through a lot worse who have as tragic and horrifying as your story is. There are.
Oh, there's a lot worse. There's a lot worse. And like, one of the things that helped me forgive the Navy for not standing behind me was listening to Immaculée Ilogabiza talk about the Rwandan genocide. And she and 6 other women were hiding in a 6x6 bathroom for 90 days and had people, her entire tribe was slaughtered with machetes. And she was able to forgive those who killed her parents, her family, her friends. These were people she went to school with. Like, she knew these people. And she's telling the story, and I'm like, if she can forgive that, I can definitely forgive the Navy. And what got me was she said, they know not what they do. And that was a really key point for me, because the military really, I don't think, realizes when they're covering up the bad stuff that they're hurting the unit that they promote. You are supposed to go in and you go into combat as one, and you have each other's back, and you're there for each other, and you're not supposed to hurt each other. And when you allow some to hurt others and you sweep it under the carpet, or you say they've got personality disorders, or for me, they just said, take your right to remain silent. When they know not what they do, meaning they really don't understand that they're hurting the unit as a whole when they're letting that go on.
And you hope they don't. Seriously, you hope that they don't.
I don't. Yeah, I hope that they don't understand it. I mean,
you hope that they
think that they're saving their reputation by going, oh no, that doesn't happen in our military. And that's what I think the mindset is.
That's exactly what it is. TYA.
and support your veterans and support your military. No, that stuff doesn't happen. Shh. Well, it does happen. So,
Yeah.
like in civilian world, and my thing is, once the military, I really fully believes this. Once the military leads the way in prosecuting rapists, civilian world's going to follow.
Yeah. Well, I think that absolutely needs to happen because anyway, that's a whole conversation that we can get. Ooh, that's another hour. I have to have you back.
Violence, Tony. I mean, it goes along with domestic violence. It'll allow people to speak up, allow kids to speak up, allow women to speak up, and men are abused too. It's not as widely known, but there are men that get whacked up with a pot pan. I don't know. It happens.
Oh, listen, I know people that happens. I know people that happens to, and you'd never imagine that is happening to this person. But it happens. It happens a lot more than people understand.
Well, yeah, and they're less likely to come forward. Even like, I'm going to go back to rape in the military. Rape in the military, it actually happens to more men than women, but the percentages of men are higher. There's fewer women, so the percentages seem higher that it happens more to women because there's fewer women, so that percentage goes up. Women are more likely to come forward. The men are more likely to stay quiet about it, and it's going undetected until later on in life when they're in mental health and they're telling their mental health provider what happened to them. People are just like, whoa, because there are more men in the military, more men are assaulted than women. It's bad all across the board. And not all military members are going to do it. There's just a few bad apples in there that know that they can
There always are. That's inevitable. You can't judge the many by the one and two bad apples. Unfortunately, happens all the time. It's happening. It's happening right now again in this country. Unfortunately,
safest amongst my peers that are veterans, the disabled American veterans, paralyzed veterans of America. When I'm in a crowd, I still feel like when I'm in the tribe. I'm still in that niche, and when they find out, there's very few of them that aren't pained by it. The ones that aren't pained, are the ones that probably did it, but you just kind of, there's not much you can do.
Right. Well, listen,
at this point in life.
Yeah, you have an amazing tale to tell, and you inspire many just again because you've been able to come through it on the other side stronger. You're making an impact by sharing your story. You wrote your book. Wayne Dyer got you going, and now you're doing it. You're jumping on stages. You're grabbing the mic. You're on this.
Tony Rodriguez.
What's that?
Warrior. I was on stage with you at the Habitude Warrior and at Joseph McClendon III.
True. And it's going to happen many more times again. Yes. Undoubtedly.
If I may, I would just like to leave the audience with a couple of things before we go, because I know you gotta end the show pretty soon.
We got about another 7 minutes or so to round off the hour. But go ahead. Stage is yours.
My main points that I would really like to get across, if you have been a victim of sexual assault, sexual violence, male or female, if you haven't told somebody you trust, find somebody you can trust and tell them, because once you start getting it out of you, that's when you start opening the door to being able to forgive yourself, because it wasn't your fault. Your voice matters, your story matters, and you matter. So go out and take the bull by the horns, because you are loved and you are love.
Absolutely. And you're worthy of love.
Yes.
And it wasn't your fault.
Nope.
Yeah. So true. Wise words. And that's where it goes. And then from there, you can forgive. You can forgive yourself. You can forgive your perpetrator. You can forgive the situation. And you can let go of the pain and anger that goes with it, because that's holding you back. That's allowing allowing the predator, allowing the person that hurt you to continue to hurt you.
And there's a lot of people out there that don't understand why, excuse me, why they're holding on to like physical weight. Like they're heavy and they're trying this diet and that diet and this diet and that diet. And they're like, oh, maybe it's my thyroid. No, maybe it's something traumatic that happened to you that you're not getting yourself over. You're not accepting that it happened and letting it go. And I don't say letting it go as in you'll forget that it happened. I say letting it go as take that suitcase and set it down, put it on the bus and send it out of town. Because once you start forgiving yourself, then that weight is going to melt. I was 172 pounds when I got hurt. I know, and I tried every single diet under the sun. And it was because I didn't know at the time. When I was 14, I was molested by an uncle. And before that happened, I was rock solid. I was 125 pounds of just muscle. And then after it happened, I gained a bunch of weight and just kept it on and couldn't lose it. And it wasn't because of any diet. It was because it was a subconscious protective measure. So if you're hanging on to weight that you can't seem to get rid of, dig deep, because it can be an emotional trauma within you that you just are not wanting to see or not remembering. Like there are subconscious ways of reprogramming. Neurolinguistic programming is one.
Well, you know, there's the reality of it is, and I've worked with someone in the past that the same thing was happening, and what the weight that stayed on her way of protecting herself was she thought that if she was a big woman that she wouldn't be attractive and she wouldn't attract predators. The reality of it is size really, listen, I know plenty of guys that like, you know, bigger women. So that's not really the solution. She's not any safer for being big or for being unhealthy or for not loving herself and punishing herself by keeping the weight on as a protective measure that's really not protecting her. It might, you know, so I think that there's a lot to that. Absolutely, that the weight can be just repressed emotions. That could be a protective mechanism in many cases. If you know, victims of sexual violence do that because they think it makes them unattractive or unappealing to the rapist.
155 pounds and I weighed 172 pounds. So the weight and the strength, none of it saved me. And when I realized that after I got hurt, I got down to like 115.
Yeah.
And I think I'm 125 again now. So
think about it. You went from probably at the time 100 pounds and thinking, well, if I'm heavy, I won't be attractive. And you don't even realize why you're doing it. Your subconscious is the one running that. And then it happened anyway. You were probably 75 pounds bigger than you were at the time. So there's so many things. And God forbid, if that's something that you've been through, seek out a therapist, seek out somebody that's going to be able to help you work through that for sure. So, yeah. Anyway, beautiful message, my friend. Thank you for sharing it. It's always a pleasure to spend some time with you and see your smiling face. Next time, though, you got to let me know ahead of time so I can wear my glasses. That smile is radiating. I got to put on glasses every time.
It's nice when you're tan. It just comes out even glowier.
Your teeth, I mean, you're making me want to go like, I feel like my teeth are brown next to yours, you know? So, yes, listen.
Michelle Soros.
What's that?
Crest white strips. Michelle Soros told us the trick.
You know, I have them upstairs. I don't put them on often. I put them on for like 2 days and then I forget. What's that?
So that's helpful.
Yeah, they're keeping my cabinet white. Well, listen, I just want to say I appreciate you and I want you to know how much I cherish our friendship and who you are and how much you shine and keep lighting up the world. So keep smiling, keep shining, keep making an impact. I appreciate you, my friend. Coming on here. By the way, you can find her. Sorry?
We will shine together.
Yes. And you can find Miss Dana Liesegang at dana.liesegang. Wait, hold on. Yeah, that way. uh, Dana.Liesegang at Instagram, and you can go to DanaLiesegang.com, right? And order her book, which you can also get on Amazon, Falling Up, My Wild Ride from Victim to Kick-Ass Victory. It is an incredible read. And Miss Dana Liesegang recorded the book, so very soon the audio version will be available. So I'm excited to listen to it again. And again, thank you for who you are and how you show in the world, and for all the lives that you've already impacted. And I'm going to thank you ahead of time for all the lives you're going to impact. So thank you.
Likewise.
Yes. And remember, my friends, that life is not about how many times you fall. This girl will be the one to tell you about that. It's how many times you can keep getting up. As Sylvester Stallone says, life is not going to hit you as hard as life. And it's not about how many times you get hit. It's how many times you keep getting up and keep moving forward, right? Keep moving forward. Don't give up. Don't give up. You fall down 7 times and you get up 8. And every time you fall, and Dana's a perfect example. She's the perfect story for this. Every time you fall, you learn. And every time you get up, you grow. And every single time you fall, my friends, you have the opportunity to get up and grow. And grow we must. Thank you, my friend. Love you. I appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for coming on here and watching and sharing this video. Follow us on YouTube as well at youtube.com/c/GetUpNGrow. Share this video. Love you all. Thank you for watching. Ciao for now.